What's your story? What do you like about it? And I think from a generational standpoint, these things really vary. Oh, there's the chair right now. Good evening, Jeff. Um, and it's really critical for the future development of our county and its economic vibrancy that we need to continue to attract young folks for our employment base, for a diverse, robust county of all types and ages. And truth be told, we are losing millennials, Gen Ys, Xers to other areas, whether it's DC or even out to Loudon. So we want to make sure we're providing the places you want to live, the resources, the services you want. And we're really looking forward to hearing your thoughts, whether it's on land use or whether it's on affordable housing, whether it's on open spaces, whatever. We'll be covering a lot of topics, and I'm so pleased that Graham has agreed to be the staffer on this. He's terrific, as is all our staff, and so I think you're really going to enjoy working with him. And I'll turn it over to Jeff, or the chair, to share some words.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and it's great to be with you all tonight for a few minutes to kind of kick off this group. Just, to supplement a little bit about what Rachel said. First, this idea, while I wish I could claim total credit for it, really came up at an NAACP meeting in South County at the South County Government Center. Seems like a long time ago now, not that long ago. And it was Muhammad, who's there on the call, who suggested this idea. And, the more I thought about it, the more I realized for a long time that, our older adults in Fairfax County have had a commission for as long as I can remember. And certainly they have distinctive issues and needs in the county. And, it was always important for us to allow people who had lived in the county for a long time to be able to stay in the county, to be able to retire in the county, and to still be part of the fabric of what, Fairfax County is. And yet that same effort was not being made on the opposite end of the spectrum with our young people. And, as the chairman of our budget committee, besides all the moral reasons why this is important, just thinking about it as the chairman of our budget committee for a minute, right now, to educate a student in Fairfax County Public Schools requires about $14,000 a year investment. And of that, about $11,000 of that is a county investment. And so if you do the math on that and figure out if you were ever an FCPS public school student and spent even just a few years in our school system, we have a huge financial investment in you and your success. And to see anyone graduate from FCPS and leave the area to locate somewhere else, it is disheartening, just from a common sense standpoint. And so the other piece of this that's important, of course, is that one of the biggest challenges we face in Northern Virginia and Fairfax County is filling jobs, especially IT and high-tech jobs. And many of the businesses and companies we talk to say the biggest challenge about coming to Fairfax County, really they put it into two different categories. One is having the talented workforce here to fill those jobs. And the second is the affordability of living in our area. And so both of those things disproportionately affect our young people, because we know our IT talent is mostly in people younger than me. And we know that affordable housing challenges are acutely difficult for people who are younger, who haven't had years to build up the unfortunate amount of wealth that sometimes it takes to be able to buy a home in Fairfax County these days. And so these issues are, really important ones from an economic standpoint. But then from a social justice standpoint, we live under one Fairfax mantra where, our diversity is our strength. We want to lift up all corners of the county and all people in an equitable way. And in order to do that, you can't leave any groups behind. And that includes young people. And so from a social standpoint, it's absolutely important for us as we move forward to hear the voices of all demographics in the county, to make Fairfax County a better place. And this group will provide advice to the Board of Supervisors like many of our advisory committees do. And, while our board is younger and more diverse now than it has been in past years, we certainly don't understand it all. And we want to have your input so that when it comes time to make policies, we're able to do that in a more successful, inclusive way. And so this is really about economics. It's about our investment. It's about our future. It's about our One Fairfax initiative to include all people in our success, and the unique challenges that you face are important for us to understand in Fairfax County. If we're going to accomplish some of the goals Rachel mentioned, which is, creating an environment that attracts young people here, not an environment that encourages young people to go somewhere else. We're going to need your advice and guidance to make sure that we're doing that. And nothing pains me more. I'll be parochial for a moment. Nothing pains me more than when I talk to some of my regional counterparts, and some of them, whether it's Loudoun, who thinks they have a greater stock of affordable housing and wants to compete with us in Fairfax, or whether it's Arlington that thinks they have a monopoly on cool factor and nightlife for people who are younger. We know in Fairfax that we have the best education system. We know that we have a safe community. We know that we have a diverse community. We know that we have an economically successful community. We have so many attributes, and we don't really take advantage of many of those, especially with attracting young people and retaining young people in the county. And so your advice is going to be critical as we move forward. And then lastly, when this idea came up and Mohammed suggested it, of course, at that time, we had no idea what we were getting ready to face with this pandemic. And what this pandemic has proven to all of us is that in counties like Fairfax, really everywhere in the world, some of the disproportionality issues that have unfortunately affected certain segments of our population far worse than others prove to us once again that we still have a lot of work to do on the equity standpoint. And so, the timing of this, while we would have liked to have gotten started earlier, the timing is really good. Was doing an interview earlier today, and people asked about, what our goals were moving forward. And frankly, I think one of the major goals we have in the county is how can we, now that once we get past this pandemic, how can we literally rebound the county, reshape the county, improve the county, and make it an even better place than it was before the pandemic. So much of our life has changed, and in a lot of ways forces all of us to look at everything a little bit differently than we did before, and I think presents us a real opportunity to shake some things up in Fairfax and be that much more inclusive community as we move forward. And you all are a key part of that. So I really just wanted to stop by and thank you for your participation. Make sure you know that your voices certainly valued by me and by the Board of Supervisors, and certainly look forward to in the months and years ahead getting advice from this group on policies that we must put in place to move the county forward. And so special shout out to all of you, and make sure that you stay engaged, because we didn't just set this up to kind of issue a report in a couple months and then move on. We set this up to be a permanent committee of the board because these issues are not ones that we address in a week or two, but are systemic issues that we must address over a long, sustained period of time, and remain dedicated to doing that. So I appreciate all of your efforts and volunteerism to support and improve the county and make it a better place for our young people. So with that, I guess I will turn it back over to Graham, and again want to thank Graham for taking this exciting opportunity on from a county staff standpoint. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Chairman McKay, and thank you, Rachel, as well, for those great words of introduction and welcome to everybody. It's great to know that that this effort is supported at the highest levels of Fairfax County, and it's an honor. So thank you very much. I'm going to do a couple of things now. Some of them are less fun than others. One of them is the electronic meetings script that we need to get through. If any of you have been through any Fairfax County public meetings recently that are held electronically, you'll see what I mean by the end of it, but we have to do it. So I'm going to do a couple things now. First, share my screen so that we have the PowerPoint that I have to present as an introduction, but then we'll do the electronic meeting script in just 1 second. So let me do that. So can everybody see my screen just with the introductory PowerPoint here?
Yeah.
Great. And 1 second. Okay. So welcome everybody. Here's an agenda of what we're hoping to cover this evening with the initial kickoff. So we heard from Chairman McKay and from Deputy County Executive Rachel Flynn kicking us off. The next thing that we'll need to do are the electronic findings and declarations that enable us to meet electronically as opposed to in person. I'll also do a brief introduction to WebEx. I'm not sure if others have used the WebEx platform in the past, but it's pretty intuitive once you're familiar with it. So just go over a couple of basic commands. Then we'll want to hear from everybody. Do a round of introductions. We have a decent sized group, but I think that this being the kickoff meeting, we're trying to just get to know everybody and also get an understanding of what it is that people want to prioritize in terms of the work that the council is going to be working on. As Chairman McKay mentioned, this is a permanent board authority commission. And so we're going to need to get an understanding and assessment of what people's priorities are. So if you can, let us know who you are, what your background is in terms of work on these kinds of issues in the past, and why you're interested in engaging in this process. Then we'll also do an overview of the council's goals, bylaws, and just cover a couple of basic ground rules for conducting public meetings. I've put together a draft. I'm calling it proposed, but it's just a draft meeting schedule and a couple of topics to just kind of get things kickstarted. This is a draft, and I've said that already because I'm staff. I want to make sure that the priorities of the members of this body are put forward, but I've just included a couple of topics to get things going. And then we do need to appoint or elect a chair, vice chair, and secretary. So that'll be towards the end. And if you're interested in serving in one of these kind of official roles, this will be the time to speak up, either to nominate yourself or someone else, and we'll just handle that. Hopefully we have enough time between now and 8:30 to get through everything, but we'll try as best we can to have a hard stop at 8:30 because I know other folks have lives and probably want to get back to looking at CNN and maps showing who's up. So, and then we'll briefly close with some announcements, and if there's any questions for members of the public, that would be a good time for them to jump in. Okay, and let me pull up my electronic meeting script here. Okay. All right, so just bear with me. This might take a little while, but we'll just get through it. So to conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the Fairfax County Emergency Ordinance, the Young Adults Advisory Council, or Council, needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It is cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. First, because each member of the council is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and in an appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each council member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. You can just say Arlington if you live in Arlington. If you live in Annandale, you can say Annandale. That's sufficient. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. Okay, Denver Suppinger.
Yep, Denver Suppinger, coming from Oakton, Virginia.
Mohammed Rahman.
Yes, Mohammed Rahman, and I live in Alexandria, Virginia.
Thank you. Sarah Bufano?
Yes, Sarah Bufano. I live in Fairfax, Virginia.
Welcome. Kiana Simpkins?
Kiana Simpkins. I live in Herndon, Virginia.
Welcome, Kiana. Casey Judge?
Casey Judge. I'm in West Falls Church, Virginia.
Leslie Asensio? Leslie, I don't think I've seen her on the list. Welcome back to her. Natalia Denise Moody.
Hi, Natalia Moody, and I'm in Fairfax, Virginia.
Welcome. Sujit Coppola.
Hey, good evening. Sujit Coppola, and I'm speaking to you from Vienna, Virginia.
Welcome. Anna McCoy. Anna McCoy. Come back to Anna. All right, Diego Rodriguez Cabrera.
Diego Rodriguez Cabrera from Alexandria, Virginia.
Welcome. Melanie Marie Stover.
Good evening, everyone. This is Melanie Stover, and I'm calling in from Annandale, Virginia.
Welcome. Jessica Sun.
Jessica Sun, calling in from Tysons, Virginia.
Welcome. Lee Jackson.
Lee Jackson. I live in Springfield, Virginia, but I'm calling in from Maine. Not sure if it makes a difference. Just wanted to be honest about it.
All good. Maine it is. Dalton Bisson. I think Dalton said he wasn't going to be able to join us. All right. So I'll try one more time with Leslie Asensio. And she's not here. So Anna McCoy is not here. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can make this work. At this point, I need to pass the virtual gavel to my colleague, Rebecca Modry, who's the Director of Economic Initiatives and is also staff to this back, so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. So I move that every member's voice may be heard by each other member of the council. Rebecca, if you can unmute yourself and request a second.
Can I request a second?
Second.
A second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures, the fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to the meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for the council to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting, and that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of the council and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that the council may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by registering through the meeting link on the Fairfax County Public Meeting Calendar website at https://www.fairfaxcounty.gov/calendar/showcalendar.aspx, or by calling 1-408-418-9388 TTY 711 and entering access code 173-622-5271. It is so moved. And Rebecca, if I could request a second. Passing the virtual gavel to you, of course.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. One more. Finally, it is next required that all of the matters addressed on today's agenda must address the emergency itself, are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations in the discharge of the council's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
And hold on one second. Hey, buddy. Didn't plan that. We got the on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, the motion carries. Okay, so we are done with the electronic meeting procedures, which is great. We will have to do it every meeting that we're doing this electronically, at least. So it's kind of a pain, but it'll go faster each time. And luckily, everybody knows how to use the mute unmute button already. So thank you. Hold on one second while I take care of something. Is that key upstairs? Something wrong? Okay. Excuse me again. It is clearly bedtime. Okay, so next we wanted to go over a couple of instructions for WebEx and how to use the platform. So a couple things in this regard. So you have, as everybody hopefully can see right now, this is called just the main WebEx interface. It works pretty much like Zoom or any of the other video conferencing software that you're probably using all day long. But just a couple of features that everybody will probably be using at some point are the mute unmute button on the left-hand side on the bottom of the screen, the start video button. This is if you want to toggle on or off your webcam. Everyone does have access, if you're a presenter, to the share button. So if you wanted to share content, you want to share your screen, I'll make you a presenter and you can then share content. Next, if you click on the participants panel button, which is in the bottom right-hand corner and next to the chat function, that'll bring up the list of participants so you can see who's on the call. Another thing that I don't have, but everybody else should have, is a raise your hand button. And what this does is it just alerts everybody that you have something that you'd like to say. When we have larger groups, this is really useful, or if there's kind of someone's been speaking and there's a kind of a time to, there's going to be a time to interrupt at an appropriate time. That might be the time to raise your hand. But for now, we can probably just call on people, or if you have something to say, just speak up for now, and we'll see how that goes. So those are the main basic interfaces for WebEx. Couple of other things that we need to go through. Are there any questions first before I go too far? Okay. And hold on one second.
I do have a question, actually. Is this being recorded?
It is being recorded, yes. So all public meetings are recorded. And so what we'll do with these recordings is we'll use them to take meeting minutes, which I'll get to when we're talking about the secretary role. But all meetings are recorded. In a lot of cases, they're posted to YouTube as public meetings on the Fairfax and hosted on the Fairfax County YouTube page. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Okay, and so with that, let's do a round of introductions. I want to hear from everybody. I'm going to stop talking for a little while, but I do want to hear from all the council members and also introduce Rebecca Maudry, who's the Director of Economic Initiatives with the county. She is kind of the main point for this back, in addition to myself. But Rebecca, would you want to just say a couple of words, introduce the members to you, and then we'll head over into the members and let them do their round of introductions.
Sure. Sorry, did you want me to go now, or should I wait till everyone's finished? Well, I'll just introduce. Since I'm already talking, I'll just keep talking. So I'm Rebecca Maudry, as Graham mentioned. The Department of Economic Initiatives is actually a relatively new department for Fairfax County. It was just launched last year. We're very focused on local economic development, and some of the topics that you all are going to be, that you may be considering I think are directly related to, well, lots of different kind of areas of work and departments, but I think that particularly the types of work that my department is focused on. So I'm really excited to kind of participate and work with Graham and kind of gather your feedback and wisdom as we work on kind of our local economic development, which includes catalytic real estate, small and local business development, economic innovation and strategy, and a lot of other really great things. So thank you very, very much for your participation and willingness to support this work.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'll go next since we're doing staff all of a sudden. So I'm Graham Owen. I work in the Department of Planning and Development with the county. Most of my time is spent on long-range planning, so the comprehensive plan, and I do a lot of interface with various other departments in transportation, housing, neighborhood community services, economic development. So I have a kind of a multifaceted job, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. But I grew up in Herndon, went to high school in Herndon, and so I'm very familiar with Fairfax County, have been for a while. And one of those people that Chairman McKay mentioned, that they leave. I left for about 10 years, and then but I'm back. So I guess I kind of fit the mold of what we're talking about here. But I'm excited to be back, and have always liked Fairfax County, and glad to be here. So if we want, we could probably just go down the list alphabetically. Might be the easiest thing to do. So Casey, do you want to go next?
Oh, the pressure is on. I'm Casey Judge. I also work for the county. I work in the Department of Planning and Development as well, in the Zoning Administration Division. So I mostly do work with the zoning ordinance, amending the zoning ordinance, interpreting the zoning ordinance. So a lot of land development and community interface and interaction. I live in the Providence District in Fairfax County. I love living right down the street from Mosaic. And I grew up in a military family and chose Fairfax County after I finished college, just because I love the area, I love the activity, I love the diversity. So I'm really excited to be on this group and to hear and learn about all of you all. Thanks.
Denver, you want to go next?
Hi all, Denver Supinger here. Happy to see you all here on a day after election. Hope everyone's staying mentally fit, or as fit as we can be. I am coming to you as the program specialist for AFGE, the largest federal government union in the nation. We represent about 300,000 folks doing our civil and human rights work. Before, I was the chief of staff for Virginia House Delegate in Chantilly. And also worked as a legislative aide to past supervisor Catherine Hudgens in the Hunter Mill District. So I'm ingrained. I love Fairfax County. Very excited to bring the young voice to the space where, you know, we can lift our concerns and, you know, put our input into like bonds and other issues that will impact us in 20 to 40 years, rather than the vast majority of voters that are going behind that. Not saying bonds are a bad thing, but like have that voice, have that perspective, and make sure we are setting the future for Fairfax County.
Great. Welcome, Denver. Diego, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Diego Rodriguez Cabrera. I also work for Fairfax County, actually. So I am currently a staff aide for Supervisor Dan Stork of Mount Vernon District. I'm his Latinx outreach coordinator. I was sort of interested to be part of this group because my specialties sort of lie in social issues, community organizing, and equity. So I think that by being part of this group, I have particular insight to the undocumented and the immigrant experience. So I'm somebody who grew up undocumented and is currently under the protection of DACA. And as everybody knows, immigrants live in Fairfax County. So I want to make sure that, you know, this population of people aren't forgotten. I graduated from the College of William & Mary, you know, just in December. I've worked in everything from construction to food service to now where I am now. I've worked as a legal aid, so I have sort of experiences from everywhere. And as somebody that's sort of working their way sort of up the wealth ladder, I think I have some particular insights on some of the hardships that our young people face. I've gone to school in FCPS, elementary, middle, and high school, and I've sort of just stayed in the area after I graduated. So that's me. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Diego. All right, Jessica?
Hey y'all, it's Jessica. I am also a product of FCPS schools K through 12 and decided to stay in the area. My day job is as a software engineer in this area, so I may be able to bring some perspective on the tech industry. In my free time, I volunteer with the Fairfax Democrats, specifically as a precinct ops vice chair for Providence District, which is also where I live in Tyson. So looking forward to working with you all to bring attention to the youth and our perspective.
Great, thanks, Jessica. Kiana?
Hi, I'm Kiana. I grew up in Fairfax County. I went to all FCPS schools, K through 12. I'm a teacher at a Montessori school in Herndon, and I just stumbled upon this, and I wanted to maybe see if I could learn from you guys and also bring perspective as a woman of color and a lower economic person.
Thank you, Kiana. Lee?
Hi, my name is Lee Jackson, and I did not grow up in Fairfax County, but nobody's perfect. I grew up in Maine and have been in the area for kind of the last 2 years. I originally started with the county, but now I work for an educational nonprofit in Arlington, and there my full-time job is I teach college students how to get ready to work on a campaign. So like registering their college fellow students to vote, or like how to door knock, just do that initial step from like an activist to a staff member. When I was in Maine, I was actually elected to my local school board and served there for a couple terms before I moved down and did a lot of things like economic opportunity and development there. So I kind of been in a couple different areas. But I think kind of the unique perspective I bring is I was a young person who chose Fairfax County because it had a lot of the things that was missing when I was growing up, or some of the things that I would want to see in Maine. So I'm hoping to provide that perspective of someone like many of you guys who work with young people and get what it's being a young person, but also like, well, here's why I chose Fairfax County, or here are some things that can help me stay.
Great, thanks, Lee. All right, Melanie Stover.
Great. Well, Lee set that up perfectly for me. So I'm Melanie Stover, and I'm representing Northern Virginia Community College. And much like Lee, I am a transplant. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. I moved to Virginia for higher education pursuits and never left. I moved to Northern Virginia. I've been here for just under 10 years now. And for the most part, lived in Arlington County, but recently moved to Fairfax County. So excited to also be able to provide that perspective. And my background is in workforce and economic development initiatives. So excited to have this conversation and be part of this important discussion.
Great, thank you, Melanie. Mohammed.
Hello, everyone. I am Mohammed Rahman, and I also grew up in Fairfax County, and also I attended West Potomac High School. I'm a mechanical engineer, and my day job is a company that I created, trying to develop better engines and hopefully better cars later on. But in terms of the community involvement, not too long ago, I was the treasurer of the Fairfax County NAACP, and that's why I did a lot of some groundwork, and I noticed that in our county there's not a lot of active voice for the young people, for young adults, especially for my generation, the millennials. So from there, that's when I started talking to Supervisor McKay and all those other people. I started talking about, okay, how about we have our own committee that can bring an active voice, young people's voice into the county. of course, there was a lot of setback. There was a lot of, back and forth, ups and down. But I was able to make it happen, and I can say that's why all of us are here right now. So I'm just noticed that. Like, for example, personally, a lot of my friends, a lot of my also family members have left the county because of some of the struggle that young people face. And I just want to make sure that this does not continue. So I was like, I think if we have an active voice like this one, we might be able to resolve some of those issues. And of course, I've worked on many other issues also in the county and also in the states. But again, I guess we'll leave those out for now. And as we continue to get to know each other, we can, talk more about each other. But again, it's just that I'm very excited to be able to work on this this committee for the young adults, and now it looks like things are moving forward.
Thanks, Mohammed, and thanks for all your efforts in getting this set up. It's really cool. Really cool to be able to see it actually come to fruition. All right, Natalia Moody.
Hi, my name is Natalia Moody, and I'm a George Mason student. I serve on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee for GMU Athletics, and I just think I wanted to be a part of this because, I like to have my voice be heard, and also I think I would be a great representative for like Mason, also being like a student athlete as well as like a Black female. So I'm really excited to join with this committee.
What sport do you play?
I play lacrosse.
Cool. And Sarah, I think you're next.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to say that it's wonderful to hear about everyone's background, and I really look forward to working with everyone over the next year or so. My background is like a number of people. I moved to Fairfax County when I was 5.5. So I did both my elementary and secondary school here. During that time, and even recently, I've been involved in a lot of political campaigns on the local, state, and federal level in Virginia, including Fairfax County, of course. I actually lived elsewhere, though, for about 8 years. So I've got experience living in New York City, some places in South America, especially Buenos Aires, and then I lived in Melbourne, Australia for 3 years. And all three of those cities are obviously pretty well known. Melbourne won the most livable city of the, in the world award for many years running. And so I think that one of the things that I bring is, experience living in different urban areas and seeing what they've done and seeing, what could work here in Fairfax County. Then professionally speaking, I originally worked in private sector consulting, and I now am a government consultant for state, local, and federal government, not Virginia state, local, but around the country. And so I have a bit of a private sector economic, business background in that sense, but I've also done 3 or 4 years of work in the nonprofit sector, education and some other issues. So I bring that as well. And I'm currently getting my master's degree at SAIS. So I'm working and studying full time. So I guess I can bring that perspective as well. But yeah, really, really looking forward to getting to know everyone and working on making Fairfax County an even better place for young people. So thank you.
Great, thanks so much. All right, and Sujit, you're the last on the list here.
Sure. Well, that's certainly a tall order to follow after all of the ringing backgrounds that I just heard over here. But good evening, everybody. Sujit Coppola, and I live in Reston, Virginia, like I mentioned, in the Hunter Mill district. So one of Denver's former constituents, I guess. My initial upbringing is actually somewhat similar to Sarah's. I moved here to Fairfax County when I was very small, around 5 years old, from just across the pond in Maryland, born in Olney, Maryland. I was a product of Fairfax County schools, went to Woodson High School and Frost Middle School, so very much familiar with the Annandale and Fairfax side of the county. I currently work as a business development analyst for a defense and intelligence and IT government contractor in Reston Town Center, actually. So certainly living and working within the Hunter Mill jurisdiction. One of the reasons why this particular board definitely appealed to me is I've always had a longstanding interest in issues affecting young people, not just nationally, but particularly at the local level. Before my current job, I worked for a member of Congress on Capitol Hill, actually specifically with a portfolio affecting financial services, community development, and education. So certainly a lot of the issues that this committee is going to be grappling with, I think I'll be able to offer and help contribute some thoughts and ideas that I've been able to cultivate over the years. So really looking forward to working with you all in the days ahead. Thanks.
Great. I think that was everybody, but did I not call on anyone? Just make sure I didn't skip over somebody. All right. And we'll probably do another round when I think we're missing 2 folks that are on the council, but hopefully they'll join us next time, and we'll do a similar round for them. All right. So I think the next thing that we should probably do is do just a quick, and I don't want this to substitute your review of the actual documents, but I think it would be good to go over just kind of the stated purposes and bylaws for the council. And then what we can do then from there is look into the actual topics and start to kind of hone in on what are the things that we want to focus on, at least initially. There's a lot of really a pretty stunning number of things that people kind of bring in terms of their background. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of interest in some particular topics, but I'm very excited by the range of experiences, because I think that there will be a lot of things that we could focus on, if not initially with the first kind of round of things that we're going to be talking about at some point. And as Chairman McKay was mentioning, this is a back that doesn't end. You know, this is one that will be in, you know, that will be here in perpetuity. So I think that we'll have a lot of things that we could cover, but I think that the goal for the first couple of meetings, at least, is to really dive in and try to figure out what it is that we think we should focus on initially, and then what is the work product that we want to come out of this in terms of our recommendations to the board. So with that, let me pull up my screen here. Just 1 second. All right. Is everybody seeing my PowerPoint again? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And people are not seeing the presenter mode. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I'm seeing presenter mode on this end. Oh, now it moved.
Okay, I deleted it. Thanks. Yeah. You never know what other people can see. It's always kind of scary. This silly thing. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. Okay. And are you seeing a slide that says council purposes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. Okay. So just to review, I know that both Rachel and Chairman McKay mentioned kind of what the stated purposes of this council are, but just to review kind of at a high level, I did send out a number of documents and a number of links to things for people to take a look at in advance of the meeting. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at the bylaws and the resolution that were instrumental in forming the council ahead of time, just take a look at it before the next meeting. What we're going to do here is just a quick rundown on the structure of the organization, the purposes, and the bylaws. The purpose of the council, it's to advise the county government. So it's to advise the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors in particular, as coordinated through the Department of Economic Initiatives by contributing young people's experiences, knowledge, and solutions to county issues. In pursuance of this goal, the council shall consult with relevant county staff and the chairman and members of the board as appropriate to understand the most pertinent issues or challenges in the county which may benefit from the council's perspective. She'll also determine the topics to focus on and the process or means to present young adults' experiences, knowledge, and solutions to the board and appropriate agencies of county government. Consider issues including but not limited to affordable housing, cost of living, young adult talent retention and attraction, civic engagement, Fairfax County reputation and brand, and other matters as they pertain to young adults living and working in the county. All right, quick rundown of the bylaws. So appointments, as you all know, they're made by the Board of Supervisors. And the council it consists of 14 members. And what we need to do later in the meeting is to elect officers. So there are 3 officers that are in the bylaws: a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. So the chair, they're kind of the figurehead leader of the group. They still have 1 vote, of course. Every member has 1 vote on matters of the council. But their main role is to preside over the council meetings, delegate functions to other council members, request assistance from staff, and also serve as as the titular head of the council. So on the background, Rebecca and I will help to set things up. We can be the resource for the chair, but depending on how the chair would like to shape their role, they can serve as kind of the head of the council in terms of interfacing with the public if they'd like to. The vice chair, the role here it's pretty straightforward. They serve as the chair in their absence. So if the chair is absent from a meeting, the vice chair will take over. The secretary, they have one role in addition to being a member, which is to record meeting minutes. So I'm taking the minutes for this meeting, so nobody worry. But in the future, what we'll ask is that the secretary record the meeting minutes. They don't need to be approved by this council. We on the staff end of things will be taking notes ourselves, and we can help put together kind of a list of things that need to be included in those minutes in order to meet the FOIA requirements, because there are some particular things that we need to include. So I mentioned in my email, the initial welcome email, but the council it's a public body under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And so all meetings of 3 or more council members are going to be open to the public and will need to abide by FOIA. So that includes electronic communications. So if you want to email something out to the council, rather than sending it to everybody, send it to me and say, I'd like this distributed to the council. That way I can forward it along so everybody has a copy of it, and it's subject to FOIA. So just know that any business that we conduct here needs to be carried out in the public eye.
Can I forget?
Of course, go ahead.
So the chat function in this meeting, can we use that during the meeting?
Yep, the chat function can be used. What I'll do when we close out the meeting is I'll hit save. So I'll keep a log of all the chats. So because that information is also public. And if people want to have questions that they presented and they want to make sure that there's follow up, we'll save it and we can send it out so that people have a kind of a log of the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Notice and agenda. So we'll take care of that on the staff end of things, but there are specific public meeting notices and requirements that need to be adhered to both during the pandemic and after. So we'll ensure that notices are conducted properly in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. I will say we have one more staffer who's on the call as an attendee, Wendy Lemieux, and she is with the Department of Economic Initiatives and is working to put together a website that'll be hosted on the Economic Initiatives main page. And this will be kind of once we're set up with the page, this will be kind of the main place where you need to go to see all the prior meeting materials, recordings of meetings, meeting minutes, materials, etc. So that'll be kind of the main place. So it's in development, and we'll send out a link once it's ready. Frequency of meetings. So the bylaws call for monthly meetings or as determined by the chair and the council. So that was just more of a suggestion. It's if the council would like to meet more or less frequently, that can be a discussion item. Voting. So a quorum of members is necessary for a vote. A quorum is also necessary in order to meet. So hopefully by the time that we get around to actually voting, the same number of people that are at the meeting are actually voting as well. But quorum just means a majority. So 50% or more. And any actions taken by that majority vote need to be of those that are present in the meeting. So no proxy voting. You can't have somebody else from, that represents X district or X organization be on the call in lieu of one of the members. Okay. Conduct. Meetings do need to be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order. I sent out a link this afternoon with Robert's Rules of Order. So if you haven't taken a look at that, it's a good resource for just understanding kind of basic parliamentary procedure. If some of it seems a bit opaque, I think the real thing is just ensuring that people are being called on in an orderly fashion, especially when it comes to when you start having motions. So take a look at that. It's a good guide. It's not the law, but a lot of government meetings are conducted in accordance with Robert's rules. It's kind of a best practice. So take a look at that if you can. No electronic meetings except as provided by VFOIA. Virginia Freedom of Information Act does allow for these types of electronic communications, but only during the pandemic currently. So hopefully we're not doing this for forever, and we will, the emergency order that the governor instituted earlier this year will be lifted. If that's the case, we'll need to resume in-person meetings once the emergency order is rescinded. Or unless there's another change to VFOIA. Public access, so all agenda and meeting materials shall be made available to the public when they're made available to the council members. So for members of the public that would like to access any of the materials, they are available on the public calendar website. So you can just click on that and the materials will pop up in a related tab. And that'll be the case either we'll post things there, and then also once the website is up and running, we'll post materials there. Records went over this. The secretary will need to ensure meeting minutes are recorded, which will become public record. And attorney-client privilege, any records that are containing legal advice for the council are not subject to VFOIA. And so that's kind of one of the few exceptions that we have. All right. Attendance and participation. Members, this is in the bylaws, but members who miss 3 consecutive meetings or more than half of the scheduled meetings in a year may be recommended for removal from their position by a 2/3 vote of the council. So it's not an automatic thing, but if it does become a problem, we'll all know about it. Committees. So this is the main body of the council, but there is the ability to form committees, both standing committees that are here on an ongoing basis, or special committees that are kind of appointed ad hoc. These are also subject to VFOIA. And so you'd have to have the bylaws say that 4 should be assembled in any committee or more. So just know that we can have committees, they're just subject to the same requirements. Compliance with the law, we need to follow the law, all Virginia laws, of course, kind of self-evident, but we do need to follow FOIA and the Virginia State and Local Government Conflicts of Interest Act. So as we get a little bit further along, if there is a conflict of interest that you need to declare, we'll provide you with additional information on how to disclose that. And then bylaws, the council may recommend changes to the bylaws, but they are recommendations. The board needs to adopt any changes to the bylaws that are in the documentation that's sent over. All right, any questions before we move on to the next segment? All right. Okay, so this is a draft. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I think we're good.
All right, good. All right. So next is a proposed meeting schedule. I apologize. I've got dual screens here, so if it looks like I'm looking off into the distance, I'm not. I'm just looking at the screen. It's got the PowerPoint up here. The proposed meeting schedule. So this is the first Wednesday, as everyone knows, in November. So just to throw it out there, we can do anything that the council sees fit. But one idea is to do one, at least for now, kind of initially as we get things kicked off and start to set out what the first couple of agendas look like, is to do one meeting a month. We could do it at 7 p.m., which is the time that we selected for this meeting, first Wednesday of the month. So don't need an answer right now unless people have strong opinions on it. But I will send out, like I did with the first, a doodle poll to see if that time works for council members. And then from there, we'll select a time in consultation with the chair. Does that sound like a kind of a valid approach to anybody? Any objections to that?
Sounds good here.
Okay. And if you know that you have like an outstanding conflict that's kind of on a recurring basis from some point out, just let me know once we're in the doodle poll. Okay, so that would be December the 2nd, just so everyone has it at least penciled in on their calendar, but we'll finalize it in the coming weeks. For now, WebEx, everyone seemed to have gotten in just fine. So unless there's any objections, we'll continue with WebEx. If others have a preference for Zoom, we can look into that as well. But frankly, they do almost exactly the same thing. Once we're out of the pandemic, like I mentioned, we'll need to resume in-person meetings, all things being equal. But that's, as with everything, is TBD. Okay, and then in terms of kind of what the next couple of meetings look like. So what we'll want to do next is kind of look into the topics that were a part of the authorization, the resolution forming the council. And then what I can do and what Rebecca can do and anyone else on the council that wants to work on this with the chair once they're selected is look into the topics and then start to develop a list of speakers and presentations to give. What we can do is provide information on what the county is already doing in certain situations and with certain topics. And then also start to identify where the young adult perspective can add value to those conversations that are ongoing. And then if there are some where the county's not working on a specific item, then we should try to figure out, from outside perspectives that are not originating with the county, what the council can do and how those issues are being addressed. I think that would allow for us to have at least a foundational level of understanding of the topics, so that we know, where strategically, at least, where we can insert our presence and make sure that we're providing a voice that's lending a perspective that's productive. Okay, so again, this is an initial draft. There's just a couple of things that were included with the resolution that the chairman put forward as things that the council may consider, but it's not intended to be the end all be all, nor is it meant to be exclusive. Any number of topics could be brought up and put forward by this council for consideration. One of the things that I mentioned in the email to the group was, if you could, for this first meeting at least, and if we don't have time to get through it with everybody yet, we might need to bring it back at the next meeting. But want to start kicking off the idea that there might be room, at least as far as what the council is doing initially, for perhaps two topics. Two topics that can be as general or as specific, hopefully more specific. So we can start to really kind of dig into the issue, formulate some goals and objectives and some strategies for actually addressing the issue from the perspective of the council. And then also look towards the future of what it is that the council wants to do on that particular topic. What is the recommendation? What is the work product that would result from us studying and formulating strategies for addressing that particular topic? So these are the topics that were included with the authorization. So I'm just going down, so addressing issues that are causing young adults to leave. So kind of on the retention end of things, affordable housing, of course, cost of living, transportation, connectivity, childcare and healthcare, the attraction, retention, and investment in young talent and recent graduates, young adult civic engagement, keeping people that are interested in being engaged in the civic sphere, getting them engaged and keeping them engaged, and then also enhancing the perception of Fairfax County. But from there, those are the things that were included with the authorization, as I said, but there's room for any number of topics and at any level of detail that could be identified. So I'll stop there, and I want to hear from others. And I'm trying to see if I can we can open it up. If you want, we can do the hand raise function, but if you want, we can just open it up. Anybody that wants to take it away, feel free. Just mention what it is that kind of compels you to think that that the Young Adults Council could work on.
Okay. If I can say something on the transportation, on the second, on the third on the list. When we say transportation, we're talking about like connectivity, right? Like like the how all the cities are very, very, very connected. How, for example, millennials, young adults, can actually live in that specific region without owning a car. This is what we meant by this transportation. I'm not sure if we can word it differently, but I think it's kind of the same idea. So connectivity, yes, that is definitely. And also, I'm not sure how can we phrase this, like I mentioned earlier. Again, my friends and my family members, the fact that they normally, or in general, young adults tend to leave right after graduation or after, after high school or after college. We have to make sure that issue, we have to kind of work on that issue to make sure we start losing, our talents and the people that the county have invested so much money on. So we have to find a way to feed that also in this agenda, because I think, affordable housing, and then those graduates to make sure they are maintaining the county. I think those are at least one of my main concerns. That's why I even started thinking about this active voice for the young adults.
Thank you for that, Mohammed. And the answer is yes. We can modify any of these. These were topics that were included as mays. They're not shalls. The council can work on the topics of interest to the council members. So we don't have to do anything in particular. It could be something completely different from these. So feel free. The reason I say that is feel free to propose things, modifications to these, or new topics that you think are valid as well. Looks like Denver, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. And granted, these are overarching, sweeping concerns I definitely think we have to approach, but I would love to look at the investment and financial underpinnings of these issues, especially when it comes to affordable housing and connectivity with transportation and the use of proffers or lack thereof, and how we are allowing, building developers to pay out proffers instead of put forward infrastructure in place. In certain instances, and then investments go into how we spend the county budget and where our priorities is, because a budget's nothing more than a plan of priorities for a county. And we definitely should put our voice there. And Graham, this might be a question for you. I know the Human Rights Commission and the Women's Commission present before the board with their legislative package. Do we have influence in our state legislative package, and can we put our voice in that, or what we want Fairfax County to advocate for on a statewide level to make sure we break down some barriers here?
That's a great question. I think that the reporting structure that we have under our council is to the board, but it's a great question. In terms of the Human Rights Commission, they're presenting to the General Assembly as well. Is that what you're indicating?
Yes, they have the General Assembly. The Fairfax delegation does a open forum where all the different commissions can come forward. So obviously, Chairman McKay would come forward with the legislative package, which he already did a brief on for Fairfax County, which I hope we can influence the legislative package of Fairfax County. But then other commissions come before the Fairfax delegation saying, hey, I represent XY commission or authority. This is what we need to see.
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question. We'll check in with it.
Thank you.
So Graham, I have a quick question, or a couple, I guess. And my first question is, and maybe this hasn't been decided yet, but do you think as a body that we're going to do most of our things as a committee of the whole, or that we might break off if there's 3 or 4 of us who are really interested in that affordable housing problem now, while other people tackle different problems and then kind of coming back together?
I'm glad you brought that up. And the reason is I think that there's a lot in hearing people's excitement and enthusiasm for the work that's ahead of us. I think that there is going to be a lot of room to do work in committees if there's sufficient interest in doing so. So we absolutely could do a lot of the work as a committee of the whole. And for those that are kind of unfamiliar with the term, I wasn't until I started working here. It just means everybody working on the project all at once. So the term comes out of the board, where the board has various committees of the whole, where they just focus in on the budget, or they focus on land use, or they focus on development. So committee of the whole work would be just work that the council is doing, all 14 members. Whereas we could do, as Lee is discussing, standing committees potentially that look at specific issues. So if there might be interest in working on equity issues, for example, we could have an equity subcommittee. Or if there's interest in childcare, we could do the same thing. So that's, I think it's a great question. I think it's TBD. Sure. If others have thoughts on that, I see Rachel, I see you're muted, so I have a perspective on that as well.
Yes. So typically what happens is committees, commissions, whatever they're called, you're called a council, but they all have different names, have subcommittees. And it doesn't mean that your regular monthly meeting will still not be held, because you want the whole group to remain cohesive and in communication. But then there can be additional subcommittees. For example, the Planning Commission has that. And they're starting one again on Tyson's with the 10-year anniversary of the plan. So I believe you all can do that as well. We'll confirm it to make sure that's allowed, and let you know how you need to format that.
Wonderful. Thank you, man. And Graham, my second, I guess, structural question, and this might be a TBD as well, but just for planning purposes, what relationship do you see our group having with some other committees or commissions as well? Because I know Fairfax County has like a transportation advisory council and healthcare council and stuff. So not in the sense of reinventing the wheel. We may look at those problems from a different point of view at a different angle, but just to know if there was any just thoughts into what our relationship might be with those citizen advisory groups that are already looking to tackle some of these problems.
Another solid structural question. So I think as we approach a new topic, for example, if we're going to talk about transportation, for example, if that's one thing that people are really interested, I think that what we'll want to do is at least one meeting to review the existing conditions, the existing work that's being done by various board authorities and commissions. So the Planning Commission's, transportation subcommittee, for example, the various groups that are already working on the topic, not only just to kind of get a lay of the land in terms of what folks are up to and what work is being done, but also to see where we as the council can insert our recommendations and add value to that conversation that's ongoing. Because Fairfax is a huge place; it's enormous, and there's a lot of volunteer efforts that are ongoing that we'll need to be aware of so that we're not being duplicative. But I think that there is, as you're all aware, there's a particular voice that we have and a perspective that we share that we can plug in. But I think that structurally, Lee, your question is right on, because we'll want to make sure that we're not being duplicative.
Thank you.
And any of you could always listen in to other committee meetings. I know the TAC Transportation Advisory Committee would be glad to know that you're interested in the work they're doing. And then there is always room for coordinating your efforts.
Yeah. And one additional thought in terms of the work product format. If the Young Adults Advisory Council wants to take up, say, land use, for example, there is a board committee that looks specifically at land use policy. There's also the Planning Commission. There's also the BZA, which looks at variances, for example. And various other land use type entities. So a part of the work and part of the strategy is figuring out what's the audience for the council's work. I think ultimately it's responsive to the board, but it might not be that we want to present a report, just a white paper report to the council. It might be that we want to do presentations and plug in at appropriate times to one or more of these other bodies, one of these other recommending bodies. to lend our perspective at one of those entities, so that we're kind of fitting into what's ongoing.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to chime in next if that's okay. I've
Sure.
got a few thoughts and comments in response to what everyone has said and your prompt. First of all, I'd like to echo that I also think that affordable housing and transportation in terms of being able to get around without having to use a car, especially given the congestion in the area, parking issues, etc. I think public transit or commuter transit or however you want to call it, connectivity is really important, and that's something that I've always valued. But in addition to that, something else that I'm really interested in us looking at, and I've kind of bundled a number of things under one topic, but it aligns with the draft plan that you sent out, Graham, under the health and environment priority. I'm really interested in doing some work around like blended design, like coming up with being able to have spaces that are, restaurants and retail and businesses, but also parks and, walking trails and more, and connected, as opposed to, we've got a lot of shopping centers right now and parking lots, but something that's more inviting and blended and pedestrian friendly. And as part of that as well, the environment to me is something that I think is quite important. Whether it be making sure that new buildings are, certified, to be green and incorporating plants and other kind of green aspects into buildings and new spaces. That's something else that is important to me. But I'm also conscious that obviously, COVID has kind of made a new normal, and at this stage, we're not quite sure what that's going to look like. And so just, being conscious of that. But a question that I had, which is, well, I guess first, something else that I was hoping in terms of work product. Yes, I agree with what other people have been saying. I was also looking at some of the plans that you've sent. I would really like for us to be able to provide input on that. For example, one of those plans was presented in February 2020 and is still in a draft format. So, I mean, obviously this is our first meeting, but it would be great to be able to provide some impact to that, because that seems like quite a big one. And, I don't want us to reinvent the wheel, but I also don't want us to be saying one thing and then have a plan be presented that says something completely different. So it'd be great to be able to work in the initial stages, so that way by the time it goes to the board or for approval, it's kind of already got our recommendations involved. And then I guess a bit of a question for you, Graham, is, to my knowledge, if I remember correctly, our term limits end at the end of next year. So I'm assuming then whatever we want to be able to present or have compiled, our work would need to be completed by the end of next year. Is that correct? Do you have any? How has it worked with other, boards and commissions in terms of, the continuing of the work as, membership has changed, et cetera? Thank you.
It's a solid question. I'm pulling up the resolution right now. I believe that you're correct in terms of the appointment structure. But assuming that it is towards the end of the year, all the way through the end of 2021, it really kind of depends. I think this is getting at the, I'm sorry?
It's 4 years. It's two years.
4 years. Okay. So maybe that's less of a problem then.
Well, yes, but we'd have to be, like, the term expires at the end of next year, and then we'd have to be reappointed, I believe, right? And you'd still have to be under 34 and living in Fairfax and, willing. And so, I mean, I guess my point is it's not, guaranteed, and there could be some change. So I just wanted to know, how does that work with term limits?
Well, actually, I will leave that to Graham to answer the question. But that was my main concern, because the group was founded, the group was established about a year ago. But it's just all this thing that happens, all these delays, and that's why I was like, okay, guys, our appointments might end, I think, on 2022. And then if we're gonna keep going like this, what would happen? Are we gonna get anything done? So those are some of my concerns. And yes, looking at our term limits and looking at, okay, get things going. And like you said, not only that we have to be doing stuff, but we also have to make sure we do something, like we make a change. We don't want to just be in this board and then finish our term and not have any actually physical impact that, okay, we did something and this is what we did. So these were some of my concerns, and maybe I think we might be able to adjust that based on the group, where we can see how we can, if we should work on the terms limit, or if we should. But maybe we can make some adjustment on that. I think we should be able to do that. But again, maybe Graham can respond to that a little bit.
Thanks, Mohammed. So can everyone see my screen? What I've pulled up here is the resolution establishing the council. And so in here, it reflects the requirements and kind of what the terms are. So one member appointed by each district supervisor, 2 at-large members from a number of entities, GMU, Virginia Community College, FCPS, and then the composition consideration for members is 20 to 34 years old, eligible to serve up to 2 consecutive 2-year terms for a possible total of 4 years. So you don't need to re-up at the end of 2021, but I think we would take it from the appointment time. So which actually, now that we think about it, is all of a sudden, it is because the appointments were made over the summer. We'll have about 1.5 years with this current body, unless there's, assuming there's changes to the structure. So to your point, though, regarding kind of the specificity of the work that we do, I think this is where we'll need to do a deep dive with each of these topics to figure out what it is exactly that we're hoping to accomplish, and so that we can accomplish it in the time period where we have the current membership, if there's interest in that. So it gets to that level of specificity. If we're working on, say, placemaking, as was suggested, having integrated design so that you have access to amenities, have places where people want to go, both as an attraction, but also from a land use perspective of being able to get people out of their cars and live near where they work. That's perfect. That's the kind of thing that we think we as young adults could lend a perspective. But we would want to have some specific recommendations that get developed, and so we'd want to be able to plug in at the right points in time during the time and select a time frame that might be pretty expedited to actually figure out where we could plug in to those ongoing efforts to provide our recommendations. So it's a solid question, but I think that it really kind of will depend on the direction that the council wants to take in terms of the topics that they select. Does that answer your question at least as sufficiently as I can?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure, of course.
I just want to clarify, I think that Graham might have stated this, but the appointments, I believe, begin from your appointment date, not from when the resolution was passed or from when the board matter was presented.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. But we can get some clarification just to make sure that everybody has an understanding. Rachel, did you want to add something to that? I see that you're unmuted.
No, I forgot to mute myself. Usually it's the other way around. You forget to unmute yourself. But also Jill Cooper can answer any of these questions. Okay. She's our clerk and a real whiz at knowing all the machinations that folks are asking, which are great questions.
Yep.
And we appreciate that you care to ask these because it's important.
Absolutely.
Can I just say just one more structural thing, and then I'll stop talking.
Sure.
Just when we're on the term of membership, and I think there are a lot of people like me who were pleasantly surprised at the diverse background of people that we have on our council already, and I think it's wonderful. But I think there are some key points of view that are missing. So while we're just talking about our structure, I'd love to see someone on here whether it's a member or a liaison from the Chamber of Commerce. And I would love to see someone from the realtor community, because I think those are two distinct perspectives that they are going to have some sort of knowledge and provide feedback in every, whether it's affordable housing or traffic or something. Pretty much everything we talk about, they're going to provide input that we may not have already.
Thank you for that, Lee. I think for what we have currently in terms of the bylaws, the resolution that adopted the council had these specific membership criteria and these specific buckets. But that can certainly be a recommendation, and then into the board in terms of future adoption of revised bylaws if the council sees fit. I would say that in terms of the perspectives that you're hoping to bring or to elevate, they can absolutely be a part of the conversation. If they're not, at least in the interim, if they're not members, we can certainly do plenty of outreach to those communities, to the chamber, to realtors, to others that are kind of on the industry side of a lot of the issues that people are interested in, to make sure that their voices are heard and that their perspectives that they bring are listened to. Okay.
So if I could take it back to the topics.
Sure, yeah. And a quick time, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Quick time check. I think we wanted this to end at about 8:30. So I think that what we have going now, unless there's any particular objection to it, it might be good to hold off on the appointments of officers perhaps until next meeting. We could do it that way, or if others prefer, we could just keep going and on with the agenda and work through it. So I just wanted to do a quick time check since we're almost out of time.
I'm happy with either option.
I have no issue going a little past 8:30.
Okay. Then maybe what we'll do is just finish off and maybe have a hard stop on topics for now at 8:30. And if people want to email additional topics for consideration afterwards, we can start doing that. But then we'll move on to officer selections. So, okay. Let me get back to the PowerPoint real quick. Okay, so I think I cut somebody off, but somebody had another topic or two that they wanted to raise.
Yeah, so I wanted to raise, once again, it's on the issue of affordable housing. However, I would like to specify sort of access to ownership of property, right? So we know that, the best way to build wealth is to accumulate wealth in the form of a home. So I think we have to have affordable single family homes and have that option for young people if they so choose that option, but also alternative forms of housing as well, such as condos and duplexes, and sort of expand on the county's first-time home buyers program to provide something for young people that want to remain in the area and want to, build that wealth and not lose their money, in renting and lack of ownership.
Excellent, thank you for that. So this won't be the end of it. Are there any other takers on other topics or particular emphases that you'd like to see us work on for the first kind of round, I guess you could say? I've heard a lot on affordable housing, investment and infrastructure, retention of young people, and then public transit, transportation connectivity, and placemaking, blended design, and ensuring that we have vibrant public spaces where people want to go.
Graham, if I may just add, so this isn't a new topic suggestion, but I just want to show my support for the young adult civic engagement topic. I think that's something that would be really great for our group to get involved in. It's very glaring. You attend any public meeting and it's There's not a lot of faces that are under 55. And so I think our voices are really lacking in these really important meetings where the older squeaky wheels are kind of taking over the topics. And then that policy is what goes forward and gets adopted by the board. So I just want to, I don't think anything needs to be added to that topic, but just want to like put in 2 thumbs up to work on that. So thanks.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it fits in, not intentionally, but I think that the effect is tying into what Diego was talking about, which is access to ownership of property in a lot of cases. Not that renters can't have an input and should have an input, because they absolutely should and can, but I think that in a lot of cases people respond to incentives, and that's the result.
And just a brief shout out for Casey. She's been working on what we call our Z-mod. So the modification of Fairfax's zoning ordinance, which is about 100 years old, Casey? It's long overdue, and she's gone to countless meetings. She's incredibly patient and very attentive and respectful of many viewpoints. So she comes from a place where she has seen this over and over. And for example, we've been working on an issue that I hope will get presented to this group called the accessory living units, ALU. So an apartment in someone's home that can be in the basement or an attic, and then one day like an in-law building in the backyard. And it's when we talk to young folks, we get a very different response than older folks. And so Casey and her team had to really go out and seek input from other age groups, because they're the ones, who need these units or will be living in them or will own the homes in the future, where they want to have the option of a rental unit for some income. So that's just one example, and it's really critical for your voices to be heard. That's why this group is so exciting to have. No pressure there.
All right. Any others? It's 8:30, and this does not need to be the end of the conversation, but any other topics that people want to either echo or others that they want to propose? But if you want to think about it and let it marinate for a little bit, that's fine too. We'll have at least another month until the next meeting. So
I'll just add one real quick. Something that I was thinking that I think would be really is some like community building, some way to kind of build the bridge between the different districts and areas in Fairfax County. I mean, it's a large county with lots of diversity, and it would be great to have some kind of events or activities or some meaningful way to build bridges between all those different areas.
Great. All right, well, this is a great list, and we'll pause it there. But again, not the end of the conversation. If others have other focuses that they'd like to talk about, what I'll do is I'll summarize what we have, and then if you want to add to the list with other topics, feel free to email me, and I'll send out a list. I'll put just maybe like a deadline on it, maybe in a couple of weeks or something like that, and build on from there. And this will be helpful as we gear up for the next meeting, because what I'll be doing on the back end is trying to figure out who it is that we want to bring in to present on these particular topics. I know my kind of narrow focus in planning, which is long range planning. So accessory living units, if we're going to talk about that, I'm going straight to Casey. But there's a lot of things that are outside of kind of the planning realm, the land use realm, where we'll want to bring in the subject matter experts. And so I'll just want to make sure that we have the right speakers lined up and can present on what's going on. All right. So next item is the nomination of council members. So I had mentioned this in the first email, but we do need to elect by acclamation of the council, a chair, and then vice chair, and a secretary. Bylaws The election of these officers needs to happen at the beginning, the first meeting of the calendar year. And so what we have right now, since this is November, is just a very brief window of time, essentially just 2 months for this first round of the council's officers to be appointed, so to speak, and to serve in their roles. But I think what we'll do is perhaps in January either reappoint, or if there's interest from others in serving in those roles, we'll hold another election. So we can take it from there. If there's anybody in particular that is interested, I guess we should probably start with the chair. Let's hear kind of your stump speech, so to speak, and if there's a couple of folks, then we'll hear, and then the council will take a vote.
Hey, Graham, I'm gonna tune out. I don't think I can manage another election right now. So good luck to you all. You're stronger than I. And it was great to meet you. And thank you so much for volunteering for this and committing your time. It's really important. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And thanks for your support. Really appreciate it.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Well, Graham, can I maybe start with this at least?
Of course.
Well, of course, I would like to at least at the beginning to set some kind of like the path of the group from what has been discussed to where we are right now. At least I would like to at least, how do you say, like, run for the chair position,
Sure.
and hopefully set the agenda and continue to set the agenda and also continue to being an active voice for young adults and millennials in the county.
Second his nomination.
I didn't catch that. Who said?
I would second his nomination. I don't know if we're doing Robert's rules for nominations.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are. We're following Robert's rules in a second. Is there any discussion on the nomination or the second?
Graham, can I throw my hat in the ring as well?
Of course.
Sure. So I just would like to throw my hat in the ring as well. Like I said, my name's Lee Jackson. I'm not from Fairfax, but chose to be there. And I hope that's something special. It's a special place for me. And I think for me, my kind of thought process is, these issues are really important. But one of the main reasons I'm interested in running for chair is, I think governing's kind of done two different ways. One is like, a Hail Mary pass and it's a touchdown, and that's great. And that's what's sexy and gets attention. But the other way is just kind of, how do we move the chains down the field 3 yards at a time and focusing on issues that affect young people every day in Fairfax County, but aren't always talked about. So that's something that I would really want to focus on. It would also want to focus on just making sure we have a really good structure and a really good setup, so we could run as far as possible. And I think those are some of the reasons some of I asked the questions earlier. Like, I'm a huge fan of setting up strong committees so people who want to run with housing or traffic congestion can go and do that. So I think that would kind of be my kind of first thoughts going forward. And even though I've only been here for a couple of years, I have experience, just personally, I live in Fairfax County. I tried to move, and the place I wanted to move, working with my realtor, said, it's just never going to happen because you're with two younger guys. They want to rent to a family, so they're going to like increase rent or increase their credit score or things like that. So I kind of understand that. And I've been a pretty big advocate. I think it's called home share, where there are elderly people who want to age in their own home, try to recruit young people with them. And maybe it's a discounted rent, but they help like mow the lawn and things like that. So those are some of the things that I would push. And just with, I think, with COVID, Fairfax might be at a disadvantage with, as much as I love Fairfax County, do I want to pay thousands of dollars a month living there, when I can go buy a house somewhere else in the country and keep my job remotely and deal with less traffic and things like that. So those are some things that I just want to focus on. And either way, I'm sure we're going to have a great time. So thanks.
Graham, I would second that, and I also would want to apologize to Mohammed. I thought we were following Robert's Rules of Orders, where we set out all nominations, set a time for speeches, and then each person gets to have a speech. So if I interrupted his speech, I want to apologize. But second, Lee's nomination, and I also would like to nominate myself.
I apologize if I wasn't being clear. Yeah, I think what we'll want to have are motions to nominate, whether either it's yourself or someone else, and then we'll ask for a second once the nominations and the speeches are finished. So sorry about that. But Denver, if you'd like, go right ahead.
Before I do, I know I cut off Mohammed with my second, so I would like to pass that time. I'm so sorry, Mohammed. I was trying.
Actually, I was just thinking, just this is just a nomination process. I didn't know we're supposed to, like, give a speech afterwards. That's why I was a little bit again, not cut that. But should I maybe give say something about myself, or just let you go first and let you go now, and then we can.
Please go ahead.
Well, okay, if I can just say the reason why I would like to be the chair of this group. Well, mainly because, as you guys know, first this is what I've been working on for many years, to make sure there is an active voice for young adults, especially for millennials. And it has not been an easy road, but as you can see, I've been working on it for several years. I'm advocating for this group, and going all through the meetings and setbacks, and up to this point where now I can say it has been successful now having our group, and hopefully to have our own active voice. And about me personally, as you guys may not know, but first I came from the NAACP background. I was the treasurer of the young for the NAACP, and also the chair of the Fairfax County Young NAACP as well. And it is from those events and from those interactions that I started, talking with and meeting with board members, including the chairman. And this is where we started talking about, okay, how about having something like this for young adults? How about having active voice for young adults in the county? And so it is from those background that this idea comes about. And from my own personal or professional experience, as I mentioned, I grew up in Fairfax County. I finished West Potomac High School and then college, and then I decided to stay and started my own company here in Fairfax County. And I'm a mechanical engineer, as mentioned earlier. And my goal, and the company that I founded, is called DMV Dynamics. Our goal is, you guys may know about the EV trend that is going on right now. How do we push that? How do we make sure this becomes the mainstream? How do we make sure EV cars, electric vehicles, become the main thing in our county and also in the country? And my company, our goal is we've been working on designing better engines and also in the long run to design better cars. Again, not to compete with Tesla, as most people ask normally when I mention this, but the goal is to design better cars that can hopefully when EVs take over, and we can be in a better position. So again, that's why I believe I would like to at least be the chair at the beginning, so we can. So as I've worked on before, and I can continue to make sure we have an active voice for young adults and millennials in this county, and maybe in other locations in our states and in the country. Okay, thank you.
Go quickly. Denver Supinger again. I'm very honored to be here before you. Mohammed, thank you for your great work in getting this going. I come from the space as someone who advocates for young professionals at the Fairfax County and state level, particularly when it comes to political and policy engagement. Through the Virginia Young Democrats and also co-president of the Fairfax Young Democrats. Yes, there is a skew politically, but at the end of the day, I think when we have progressive voices coming to the space wanting to better, it makes no difference of that background. It would be an honor to serve as your chair as we're going forward. I think my understanding and working with the Board of Supervisors in the past and the state through the General Assembly would be integral to the progression. And granted that skill set and insight will be here no matter what. But having that expertise, I definitely would love to use that, use my connections and networks to make sure, one, we aren't getting bombarded or blocked by state law and regulations. As we know, as some of you might know, we're in a Dillon state law. So anything we do in Fairfax County has to be explicitly expressed in code for us to do before we do it. And then luckily we have a Fairfax County Board of Supervisors that does skew younger than our previous board, but still is lacking that voice. We know in Fairfax County, there's going to be a huge issue with retirement within the next 5 years. And those who are raising up are those within our generation. We might be called kids by individuals, but as you all know, we have spouses, children, jobs we've been in for, some of us nearly a decade. We are established individuals and new individuals in the spaces, and we have to bring that in and counter that norm and language. As I spoke to the topics, I think infrastructure and investment in funds is everything, because we can talk about affordable housing, but Supervisor Catherine Hudgens, my lovely past boss, was trying to get half a penny on property taxes, which would completely change the face of affordable housing in Fairfax County. And that has been a huge battle that she's been fighting. Well, she did fight for about 12 years and is still up before the board, right? So when it comes down to money, that's a huge thing. And that can be, paralleled by commerce, Chamber of Commerce partnerships. I love that you had that, Jackson. Jackson, sorry. And then our business partners as well. I love the idea of having modified spaces, joint spaces. I know there's been different perspectives in that. I know Fairfax County has proposed schools that are co-located with libraries, which would make sense to a lot of folks, but unfortunately we are on an uphill battle with ingrained Fairfax County residents who do not look like us, who do not think like us, who do not have the same needs as us, but unfortunately are the only voice at that table. So we know what we want, we know what we need to keep young people here. We just need to tell them to show up, and that comes to the civic engagement, and then actually having our voice and advocating. So it'd be an honor to bring all those perspectives, kind of lift us up. I think definitely subcommittees are needed because we have different talents and insights here. And it would be an honor to be a chair, be a partner in this space, and make sure that we gain the respect that we deserve in Fairfax County. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I second Denver's nomination for chair. I had the opportunity to work with her in Fairfax, through Fairfax for Democrats and FCDC, and I highly recommend her for the position.
Thank you, Jessica.
All right. So I think we have we have 3 nominations that are on the docket for the chair. We have a second for Denver. Do we hear a second for Mohammed?
I second. I believe I seconded both Lee and Mohammed.
Okay. Seconded by Denver for both Mohammed and Lee. All right, so we have 3 nominees to be the chair. Per the bylaws, any recommendations, anything that comes out of the council, any votes need to be taken by a majority to constitute the decision. So this isn't just a 3, 4, 7 or something like that. We need to have a majority that decides on the election of the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary in succession. I think since Mohammed was the first to nominate, that nomination went forward. I think we'll start with that. And then if we have, I think we'll go down the roster to see who constitutes the greatest plurality in order to see who's going to be the chair. So does that make sense to everybody? I think what we'll do is do a vote for each nominee, and then we'll see what the tally is for each, and then the person who has the most votes will be appointed the chair. Again, this is for a 2-month term. So this is for essentially for the first 2 meetings, because per the bylaws, this is almost, we will need to do it again per the bylaws at the first meeting in 2021. So if you're not selected as the chair, there's another chance, don't worry. And that's the same goes for each of these officer positions. So thank you all. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to appoint Mohammed Rahman as the chair, seconded by Denver Suppinger. And I think what we'll want to do is probably just do a roll call just to ensure that we have to actually have it. So I think we'll just go down. If you can say yay, you can say nay, or you can say abstain. So going down in roll call order. So Casey?
So I'm sorry, we do this for each person, is that correct?
Right, so what we're gonna do, since we have 3 nominees that have been put forward and we have seconds for each of those 3 nominees, what we'll do is do a roll call to see who achieves the most number of votes. So we need to have a majority in order for a vote to count as the action of the council. So the person that's going to serve as the chair will be the person that receives the most number of votes. And in addition to having to have the majority. Yeah.
How many times can someone vote?
I think you can vote on any motion. So you can vote for yourself. You can vote on any of the motions. So you can vote 3 times.
Okay. Chief Judge, yay?
Because here's the thing. If we could encounter a situation where nobody achieves a majority. So if you're able to vote on all 3 motions, it should shake out so that you have both a majority and somebody will come out on top.
Sorry, just to clarify, so we could say yes to all 3 people. That's correct?
You could, absolutely. But then we'd need to do it again.
Yes, no, I understand.
If everyone does that, we'll need to do it again and again and again until somebody shakes out. Okay. All right. So if you have somebody in mind, just keep that in mind as you're going up and we're doing the 3 motions. Okay. All right. So Casey.
Casey Judge, yay.
Okay. And this is again the motion for Mohammed. So Denver.
Quick question: do abstentions contribute to the vote total?
They contribute to the vote total, but they don't count towards the majority vote.
Okay, so if 5 people abstain, that means nothing, right? That messes up.
We have 11. Yeah, so we have 11 members that are assembled that are here in the meeting. So you need to have 6 in order to constitute a majority. That's kind of the base minimum.
Okay, so abstentions is a wash vote. Okay.
Oh, it's a wash, correct? Yeah.
So I would kindly say nay.
Okay, Diego.
I will also kindly say nay.
Jessica?
Also a nay.
All right, Kiana?
Nay.
And Kiana, I apologize, I couldn't hear you. Could you restate that?
Nay.
All right, Lee?
What does an abstention do?
It's a wash. So you can vote yes, and it'll count towards the majority. You can vote no, or you can vote to abstain. In both cases, they don't count towards the majority vote.
Okay, I'll abstain.
Melanie?
I'd vote yay.
Mohammed? Mohammed, are you there?
Yeah, yes.
Natalia?
Yay.
Sarah?
I abstain. Thank you.
And Sujit?
I'd vote yay. Thank you.
Okay, so my count is I have 5 yays, 4 nays, and 2 abstentions. Okay, so that motion fails. So the next vote is to establish a chairman that's been seconded by Denver. Is for Lee as chairman. So going down the roster, Casey?
Yay.
I'm sorry, could you restate that, Casey?
Sorry, my mic. Yay.
Okay. Denver?
A kind nay.
Diego?
A kind nay.
Jessica?
Nay.
I'm sorry, was that a yay or a nay? And you can say yes or no. We don't have to
No, a kind
it's so
no.
hard it's so hard over this electronic format. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a no.
Okay. All right. Kiana?
No.
Lee?
Yes.
Melanie?
Abstain.
Mohammed?
Abstain.
Natalia?
No.
Sarah?
Yes.
And Sujit?
Yes.
Okay, so that is a total of 4 yeses, 5 noes, and 2 abstains. So that motion fails. Next is for Denver. Suppinger as chair and seconded by Jessica Soon. Casey, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Diego?
A yes from me.
Jessica? Yes. I'm sorry, you broke up there.
Yes.
Kiana?
Yes.
Lee? Lee?
Oh, yes, I'm gonna put her over the top. Yes.
Melanie?
Abstain.
Mohammed?
Abstain.
Natalia?
Abstain.
Sarah?
Yes.
And Sujit?
Yes.
So I have 7 yeses, no no's, and 3 abstains. So that motion carries. So Denver has been elected chair. The next officer role is for vice chair. Would anybody like to appoint themselves? You could be anybody. It could be anyone that was voting for, that went for chair. Or it could be someone else. So anybody would like to throw their hat in the ring to nominate themselves or someone else for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Lee Jackson.
Second that.
So Casey nominates Lee, seconded by Kiana. Since this is a nomination of someone else, Lee, do you accept the nomination?
Yes. Thank you, Casey.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Mohammed.
Okay. And is there a second to that?
I second that.
And that was Melanie?
Yes.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, so we have 2 motions on the floor. We will start with Casey's nomination, which is seconded by Kiana, for Lee to serve as the vice chair. So we'll proceed in a similar order to the chair. We'll need a majority vote. So 6 constitutes the minimum requirement to achieve a majority vote. If there's an instance where there's 2 that achieve a majority vote, we will go with the one that has the most votes in the plurality. So we'll start with that one. Casey, how do you vote?
Yes.
Denver?
Yay.
Diego?
Yay.
Jessica?
Yay.
Kiana?
Yay.
Lee?
Yay.
Melanie?
Abstain.
Mohammed?
Abstain.
Sarah?
Abstain.
And Sujit?
Yay.
And Natalia had to log off, so she's no longer with us, but still 6 is the minimum necessary. All right. The second motion put forward by Sarah is to nominate Mohammed, which was seconded by Melanie. And we'll start.
Can you count up the total for that?
Oh, I apologize. Yes, the total is 7 yeses, 0 no's, and 3 abstains. Okay.
Did the count change?
Sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry, someone dropped off.
Oh, Natalia dropped off. So she no longer is counting towards the quorum. She's not eligible to vote in this instance for this round. But we still have a member of a quorum assembled, so we can still continue. And 6 is still necessary because it's 50%. If there's a split, it's 50 plus 1. So, okay. So second motion on the table is Sarah nominates Mohammed. She's seconded by Melanie. So Casey, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Denver?
Yay.
Diego?
Yay.
Jessica?
Yay.
Kiana?
Abstain.
Lee?
Abstain.
Melanie?
Yay.
Mohammed?
Yay.
Sarah?
Abstain.
And Sujit?
Yay.
Okay. So that motion, 6 yeses, 0 no's, 4 abstains. So both motions carry. However, Lee has been nominated with the plurality of votes, more than the second motion. So Lee is elected as vice chair. And last, we need to do secretary. So is there anybody that would like to be nominated or would like to would anybody like to nominate themselves or someone else to be the secretary? And again, this is recording meeting minutes and submitting them. You will have the help of the recordings that we have that are videos. So it's not just taking notes and hoping that you captured everything. You always have a video to refer back to. But would anybody like to perform the secretary officer role?
I would like to nominate myself.
Seconded.
Seconded as well.
Who was the first seconder? Casey? All right, thank you. Any other nominations for secretary? All right. So we'll go down the list. Yeses, nos, and abstentions. Casey?
Yes.
Denver?
Yes.
Diego?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Kiana?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Mohammed?
Yes.
Rebecca? Oh, excuse me. She can't vote. Sarah?
Yes.
And Sujit?
Yes.
Okay. Diego, you are secretary. So excellent. Congratulations to all 3 officers. Again, this is for an initial appointment election for 2 months. We will do this again very soon. So if you want to be, a part of this in an official role, we'll be doing this again very soon. So just stay abreast as to all the developments that are going on. So thank you all for your attention. Thank you all for your time today. I know we're almost 35 minutes over at this point, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but I'm very grateful to have this group moving forward. There's a lot of really cool, interesting perspectives, and I think that there's a lot of smart thinkers in this room, and I look forward to hearing more and having these conversations and working on topics that are of interest. So with that, does anybody have any announcements? Anybody have any things that they'd like to do to wrap up? Because I think we're otherwise finished, and I don't see any. We had some attendees from the public, but I don't see any attendees at this point. So,
Graham, can we just clarify that are we under the Virginia law that if more than 2 individuals either email each other or meet in person, that's technically a public meeting and has to be posted, correct?
It has to be noticed. It has to be agendized. Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, that is absolutely correct. We are subject to VFOIA, Virginia Freedom of Information Act. So all communications of the public body need to be done in a noticed public meeting that's available to the public. So that includes emails. So if you want to email a member of the body of the council, you can. You cannot email 2 in the same email. So if you wanted to talk to Casey, for example, you can do that. That is okay. But if you wanted to talk to more than one other person, that needs to be done in a noticed agendized fashion. So that's just called open meeting laws writ large, but it is very important. So thank you for reiterating that. That being said, if you have something that you want to share with the council, you can do that. The way to do it is to send it to me, and then I can blast it out and ensure that everybody has access to it, and so that the public also has access to it. So it's not that we're trying to stifle communication, it's just that we need to make sure that we're doing it in a transparent manner. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
You'll send us the link to the YouTube channel and the upcoming website that's going to be formed for our council, correct?
Yep, you bet. Exactly. So the YouTube stuff, the YouTube video will most likely be ready tomorrow. It takes a little while for the WebEx to render, but we have access to it pretty quickly. So we'll post it to YouTube and send out a link to everybody so they have it. But with that, I think we can call it a night. So thank you, everybody. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all for a great meeting. Really appreciate it and look forward to working with you all on this council. Good night.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Graham. Have a good night.
Thank you.